Hey everybody, John here from Hilco Bees. Wanted to shoot a quick video and share some thoughts on overwintering and some products that we're offering to help you successfully overwinter your bees and prepare your bees for winter. By no means should this be considered a full-fledged instruction video on how to successfully overwinter your bees or guarantee that your bees will overwinter properly if you do these things, but I've had my share of success and failure with overwintering hives, and these are just some thoughts that I've learned, some things that I've learned from both success and failure over the years. So I kind of put overwintering into 4 different categories. I think about preparing for winter. I think first of disease and pest prevention, also insulation, also moisture control, and one of the most important ones being, of course, honey or sugar stores. So as we talk about disease and pest prevention, I kind of think of 3 main things, and again there may be more, but there's 3 main things that I think of in winter preparation, things that are building up in the fall or becoming more of a problem in the fall and winter months. Those would be number 1, mice. Number 2, probably most important, be mites, varroa mites. Number 3, nosema. Nosema is a bee gut disease. It's a spore that can get in the bee's gut and cause some issues, and cause basically honeybee dysentery is what it actually is. So I guess we can start with that being kind of the simplest one. It becomes more of a problem in September, October, into the fall months, and into the winter more and more. And so we do offer one thing to help combat that, and it does some other good things too. It's called Super DFM, and DFM means direct fed microbials. So the idea here is to improve the bee's gut health, and by doing that, number 1, it helps prevent nosema, which is a gut disease, and also by, again, boosting the gut microbes, it helps the bees absorb any chemicals, pesticides, any toxins that they would ingest as they're out foraging around. So it's just a really neat tool for building overall colony health. It's very simple to apply. It comes in, we offer in a 10 application bag, a 50 application bag, a 100 application bag, and even bigger quantities. If you want that, reach out to us. But it's just a very fine powder, and basically what you do is once a month when you're inspecting your hives, and this can be, throughout the summer months, especially in the fall, even in the early winter, if you're getting into the hives to add some sugar bricks or something like that, it wouldn't hurt to toss a little bit of this on. But basically you apply 1 tablespoon per month. So you just reach in there with your tablespoon and just kind of shift it across the top bars. In the summer months, if you want to just get lazy about it and apply it on the supers or something like that, that's fine too. The bees will get to it, but ideally it's best applied on top of the brood box top bars. But anyway, like I said, it's a great tool for very effective in preventing nosema and treating nosema and a lot of other things. So that takes care of nosema. Mice would be another thing, of course, as the fall months progress, as combines are harvesting the fields, the corn and bean fields, the mice are dislodged out of the fields. They come in looking for some place to nest up for the winter time, and so it's very important to keep those out of our hives because they can really make a mess in the hives. They get in there, they create a nest, they can sometimes eat on stuff in the hive. It just is a real problem. So we offer a really cool mouse guard in both 8 and 10 frame sizes. This is it right here. So how it works is it comes with 2 brackets with stainless steel screws. Those are included, and you set them on here. You screw them on here like this, and your guard has either the mouse guard setting or the closed setting. So in the fall months, as you're trying to keep your mice out of the hives and also reduce your entrance to keep excessive cold and stuff out of the hives, you put that on like that. Works pretty neat. Another thing you can do, again, you leave these brackets on year round, and in the summertime, if you say you want to move your hive or you got someone coming through to spray pesticides or something in the nearby field, you can take this side of it, come in at night or early in the morning or something, and put it on like that, and it keeps the bees from going out to forage and getting potentially into your neighbor's pesticide sprayed field, and it also still gives them some ventilation. So very cool tool. We offer those on our website. They're very inexpensive. They work really well. So again, that's to help mice prevention, and again, mice overall, just look for, keep your openings all closed down. If you got an upper entrance, get that closed up to just a little bit of space. Anything else, if you got any bigger holes, you got rotted out boxes, I mean, they can get into really tiny spaces. So look for areas that you can block off with something, close up, nail a piece of board over a hole or something like that to keep them mice out. They really cause problems. And finally, varroa mites. That's really the big one that everybody talks about. It's like one of the biggest killer, probably the biggest killer of honeybee colonies. They really build up in the late summer, fall months, and can really become a problem in the winter time. You see a lot of early winter losses from varroa mites. They spread, they eat on the bees, they suck their blood, they spread viruses. They're just a real problem. And so I'm not going to get into all the different types and varieties of mite treatments. All I would say is please, please, please test for mites, and if needed, please treat for mites. Don't think that, oh, I'm going to keep my bees all natural and you know, not treat. I don't want to treat nothing. That's a good way to lose your bees. I'm not saying you're definitely going to lose your bees, but it's a really good chance you will. There are a lot of different, very natural, organic mite treatments out there that you can use. Again, we offer 3 or 4 varieties on our website. They're all natural treatments. Thankfully, the varroa mite has been a problem for enough years now that they've had time to develop many, many really good, solid treatments that are almost all of them are all natural, organic treatments that won't hurt your bees, that won't hurt your honey. Most of them you do have to take your honey supers off before you apply, but again, they're very solid treatments. So anyway, once again, do not fail to test for varroa mites and treat if needed. That is one of the #1, that's probably the #1 killer of honeybee colonies in the wintertime. So again, number 3, talking about insulation. So, you know, there's a lot of opinions on this. Lots of people, including myself, have overwintered hives successfully with no insulation, particularly beyond just the wooden box. There's like an R1 value or something. It's a very low R value, insulation value of the wood of the box. But lots of people do just fine overwintering that way. I would say, if possible, if you're just going to do it that way, at least give them a windbreak. Particularly from the west wind is typically one of the worst. So at least give them some kind of windbreak, kind of close them off. Straw bales, hay bales, buildings. I've stacked pallets upright and drove stakes down inside of them to give it kind of a little temporary fence around the hives. There's a lot of things you can do, but think of opportunities for a windbreak. Top insulation is good. We'll get into that in a second here of an option we offer for that. But I also want to point out the Bee Cozy hive wrap that we offer. And I will, first off, I'll admit that I have not used this yet myself. We just started carrying these. I have not personally used them yet. I plan to this winter. And at least half our hives, we're going to test them out and see how they do. So there's a couple points on the Bee Cozy wrap. Number 1, an R8 insulation value is what it offers. And that is pretty commonly, pretty universally recognized as like the ideal R value for overwintering beehives. It's very similar to the typical thickness of a hollow tree, which is, of course, the honeybee kind of natural habitat if they have one at all. So yeah, an R8 gives you an R8 insulation value. It is black, of course, so it helps to draw the sun rays in the wintertime and draw some heat in there. So it's recommended to apply these as the bees start to cluster, which is typically as it gets below 50-degree daytime temperature. And so some of the benefits of this is it's, again, very simple, very durable. Guys use these for, my understanding from what I've read is that people have used these for several years at a time. That the plastic is very thick, it's UV resistant, so it's very durable stuff. So it's just a square wrap, like so, and you just put it around your hive where it seams, where the seam is at the front here, where the two ends come together. You want that to the front, and that kind of gives you a little bit of chimneying effect. The overall fit around the hive box is fairly loose. Not super tight, and that's good for helping to prevent moisture buildup, mold and mildew buildup, things like that. So it gives you a little bit of chimney effect in the front. On this one this is recommended to do, I have a screw set up here so that it keeps the entrance open. It's also highly recommended that you keep a top entrance of some sort on these. So when you put it on like that, and then you fold the edges down to whatever excess you have left over, you fold that down, and then you put your inner cover and outer cover on top of that, kind of like that. It's kind of how it's going to look over when I don't have it quite set in place, but that's more or less the idea. So we offer these again on our website. They're like $22 to $25 depending on, we have 3 different configurations, I believe. We have for the single 10 frame, double 10 frame, or a double 8 frame. Again, there's a lot of different ways people overwinter bees, so they may not fit your particular circumstance in every way, but that's a good option to have. Black tar paper is a tried and true method as well. It gives it the tiniest bit of jacket around the hive, and at least it's black, so it helps again to draw some sun rays. Having some insulation, aside from helping just keep the cluster warmer in the winter, it also seems to help in the springtime and in the very early spring, late winter months. It seems like the bees tend to get going about 2 to 3 weeks earlier in the spring, so you get some quicker buildup just due to that warmer temperatures inside the hive. So just something to consider there. And fourth is moisture control. So what happens is, as the bees cluster up in the winter, again, to overwinter, if you don't know already, the colony will cluster up. They'll form a cluster, typically in the center of the brood frame, starting out down low around the queen, and they'll keep that temperature warm. They'll keep it in the center of that cluster. It'll be like 90-some degrees. On the outside of the cluster, it'll be about 45 degrees, and the bees will kind of keep warm by wiggling their bodies, and then they'll rotate in and out. The bees on the inside will rotate to the outside and vice versa. And so as they create that heat generates humidity. The humidity generates moisture rising to the top, which can build up as condensation on the underside of the inner cover. And what will happen then, that condensation will drip back down onto the bee cluster, which can either severely stress or at times even kill your bee cluster or a lot of your bees. And so having some way to absorb that moisture is a very effective thing to do. And so what we offer, a very simple alternative, a very simple option, is a moisture board. So what this is, a fiber board, and about a 1/2 inch thick, and it helps absorb that moisture. So as that moisture rises up here, we put this underneath instead of the inner cover, and that absorbs the moisture so it doesn't drip back down on the bees. Very cool thing. And then finally we get to stores, honey, etc. There's a lot of different opinions on how many boxes you leave on top. It seems like the most common is to have 2 deep boxes. That's a good idea. A deep and a medium is also good. And a lot of people, even in very cold climates like Canada, overwinter in just single deep 10 frame. And that's what I'm planning to do with all my hives this winter, so I'll let you know how that turns out. But whatever method you're using, it's a good idea to keep some emergency feed stores on the hives. And I like to start doing that around Thanksgiving time. And the idea there is you can leave all the honey in the world on them, on the bees. But at certain times in the winter time, it'll get really cold, and the cluster will not move because of the cold. And so you can have honey all over that hive, but if the honey's not right where the bees are at that particular time during that cold snap, they will not break cluster and move to where that honey is. So it's important to keep some emergency sugar stores right on top of the cluster if possible. So we offer this shim. It's about 1 5/16 thickness, and you set it on top. You can either set it between your 2 boxes if you want to. I usually set it on top, either on top of 1 or 2 deeps, whichever way you're doing it. And it gives you space to either pour some dry sugar. Some people put newspaper down, pour dry sugar, and some people will make up sugar bricks or something like that, or fondant. There's a number of different options for winter emergency feeding, but I'm definitely a proponent of emergency feeding just because it gives them a backup option no matter what. And so if you have just 1 box, if you're overwintering is just 1 box or a medium, that food on top can give them, they're pretty close to it. If you're overwintering with 2 boxes, by putting that shim on earlier in the winter or very late fall, it tends to incentivize the bees to move up to the top, and then they'll be in that top box where the majority of the honey is anyway. It'll kind of incentivize them to come up there, so they'll be up like this, and then they'll be right there where the sugar is. So it seems pretty effective to do it that way. And then, so yeah, the way I like to do it, you use your shim, which also has a couple small holes for an upper entrance. Hopefully they're big enough for the bees to get out, but not the mice to get in. And then I put my moisture board on top of that. If you choose to leave the inner cover on, that's fine. You just put it back on top of that then, and then your telescoping cover on top of all that. So anyway, that's only just a few opinions and thoughts that I have on it. Feel free to leave comments or questions. I hope a lot of people chime in with their own experiences and ideas and stuff. This is, again, by no means a full guaranteed way to overwinter bees, but it's just some things I've learned from, again, success and failure, and some options that we offer on our website. So again, feel free to comment or ask questions, and check out our website, hillcobees.com, where we have all these things available. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good evening.